How's it going, everyone? Today we're sitting down here in Warm Studios in Austin, Texas, and I'm joined by Bryce Young, founder and CEO of Warm Audio. Bryce, thank you for having us, and how are you today?
Doing great. Thank you for coming all the way from Germany, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And you just got off the plane, what, yesterday?
We landed here yesterday at 6 p.m., went to the, some sort of barbecue place, to bed, and now we're here.
Great.
Basically, nonstop.
I'm sure you're exhausted, but thanks for coming and making the visit.
Of course, thank you for having us, and thank you for showing us, all your facilities and studio and stuff. So, yeah, we got a lot of questions today, and I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible, but we're going to dive into a lot of stuff. Maybe first of all, you could tell us a little bit about this place, where it is, and how it came to be.
Yeah, so this is our recording studio that's in our headquarters, and we use it to test product. We also shoot marketing videos in here, and it's just cool. Like right next door is where we store all the equipment. We test all the equipment, and you can just walk over here, and you're kind of in this new world of a studio. But we built this building from the ground up a few years ago. It was actually during the pandemic. We finished it in early 2021, and I always wanted to have a studio. So I had to convince my wife that we needed this studio, but it was really just a desire and a passion that I've always had to own something like this.
So, like, you also invite artists in, and you can actually, you take hourly rates for bands to record here and all of that stuff, like a commercial studio would?
Yeah, full commercial studio. Anybody can call us up and rent it out.
That's pretty sick. Well, let's get into the whole Warm Audio questions, because I got a bunch of questions, and they're all going to be of different topics, and I'm going to try to pretty much get everything covered. But starting out, Warm Audio, can you tell me a little bit about how the brand came to be and what the inspiration behind it was?
Yeah, it's a long story, so I'll try to shrink it down. But I was in a band in high school. I got into playing guitar, I think around age 14. And then when we practiced up and wrote a few songs, we wanted to go to a studio. And so we went to a recording studio locally where I grew up, which was in the northern states, so Wisconsin area. And the recording didn't sound very good. Now, we weren't great players either, but what I mean is the recording quality wasn't kind of where I wanted it to be. And I'd only heard professional records my whole life, so I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, yeah. I thought I was going to walk in the studio and come out with a beautiful sounding record. And that didn't happen. And so I decided to sort of learn how to record myself, and started buying, low-cost mics, all I could afford at the time. And it was right when software recording was coming out, like DAW recording. This is the late 90s. Started playing around with that. Eventually, I plugged into a high-quality mic pre at a studio that I was renting one day, and was like, wow, my low-cost mics sound really good through this mic pre. And so I became, from there, kind of obsessed with microphone preamps, and opening them up and buying kits and soldering them together, and then it eventually turned into I should offer these preamps to other people.
Yeah. Well, it's funny to hear how it started for you, because that's always what Warm Audio seemed to be about for me. Because you grow up listening to these records that were produced using this extremely expensive and sought after gear. But you're never, realistically, most of us aren't going to own any of those things. So I always looked at Warm Audio as something taking that sound and the ability to make something as professional as that, and giving it to people in kind of an affordable way, so that your guitarist next door could have the sound of the pedal that he would never be able to afford. And when it comes to creating your gear, what would you say, how do you go about it? How do you go about choosing what you're going to do, and what are the challenges involved with recreating a classic, for example?
Well, when the brand started, it was a little bit easier, because there were some certain things that everybody wished they could own, but they couldn't afford, like an 1176 compressor, an LA2A compressor, a Pultec EQ, things like that. So picking those products and saying, hey, I want to recreate that. We're going to produce in high volume so we can get the price down. It was pretty easy to pick. Now it's a little bit tougher. We've kind of recreated a lot of the classic products that people want to own or wish they could afford. And so now, we get into a lot of deliberations here at the office. People bring up ideas, we talk through it, and just whatever feels right.
Have you ever had something, what would you say, what was the biggest challenge of making it happen the way you want it to be?
I would say the 44 ribbon mic was one of the hardest projects to do. And it's funny because a ribbon hardly has anything in it.
Yeah.
It's a magnet, a ribbon, and a transformer. That's it. So you'd think, I thought it would be the easiest microphone ever. But every shape, angle of that mic, every material used, even the cloth inside affects the frequency response. I mean, I guess we'd all assume that, but sometimes it would affect it dramatically. So it took about 3.5 years to get that microphone right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the less components you have, the more you have to get each one right, like exactly.
Yeah, and when there's a magnetic field like that, it's a little different. Like a tube mic, it's like, oh, it sounds a little bright. Let's use some darker capacitors or a different tube or a different transformer. Wasn't so easy with a ribbon.
Yeah, I imagine that. So are you guys planning on, branching out into like different areas of gear that you maybe haven't like touched yet, like synthesizers, for example, because there's so many, like, that's just another one of those things that comes to mind where there's so many iconic things you probably will never be able to own as a normal person. Like, is that something you guys are interested in?
You know, synthesizers is one we should be interested in. I think we are. We just haven't looked into it too deeply, but apparently you're not the only one to bring it up. A lot of people are desiring these old classic synthesizers, and I guess there's not a whole lot of them being remade or being remade well. So I would be lying to you if I said we're looking into it and working on it. We're not yet, but it's on the radar.
Oh, that's good to hear, because I think there's there's a lot of recreations of like classic synth gear, but I don't think a lot of them are very good. And I think that's something that you guys are like you really excel at, is taking your time to do something, but then like, making sure to like get it right, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, what would you say about the synthesizers? Just quick question. Would you say if they're not getting it right on some of the recreations, is it because they're not actually recreating the circuit properly? Like, are they doing a digital version of an analog circuit? Do you know? Have you looked into that?
Well, sometimes they are, but some of the times, like I've tried synths that were really trying to be like the original, but they just didn't. I mean, I'm not an engineer in that area. I don't know where it may have gone wrong, but it's definitely not like a thing of, okay, we're going to do this digital or like a plugin or something that's going to be like, a circuit recreation type of situation, but it just doesn't sound like it.
Sure.
It just doesn't sound as good. And that's what I think is really like what I noticed about your guys' gear is that like it does sound as good, basically. And I guess that's what you're after. If I want to buy like, I don't know, if I want to get like a Centaur pedal, I want to get that sound. And I'm not trying to get something that sounds kind of like it.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the idea. It's like that would be something that I think could be really cool to see from you guys. And also, while we're on the topic of branching out, are you guys like planning in the future to like step away from the recreation and go into, like, I don't know, making your own sort of whatever it may be, compressor, preamps in the future?
Yeah, it's a great question. We get asked that a lot. And I think for the longest time, there were so many great products that needed to be recreated. We just said, no, we're just going to keep focusing on recreations. But now that we've recreated, at least in the pro audio space, a lot of the classics, we are having more conversations about what's next. Do we want to come out with our own thing? And so in 2026, actually, this will be the first year that we've released something truly original. Now, we do have a couple original products like our DI boxes. Those aren't clones of anything or recreations of anything. And the Tone Beast mic preamp is kind of a unique thing. There are a few unique things. But this year the hope is sometime this summer, we'll see, it might be later in the year, is to release something that's all new, very different. We'll see how it goes.
All righty then. Well, another thing that comes up a lot, I guess I'm pretty sure you hear about this too, is what do you think justifies at all at this, like, in this day and age, the having to buy like outboard gear in general and like processors and preamps? Do you think is that something that will always be there, or do you think we're kind of moving more and more into a direction where you don't really need that for your studio anymore? What's your take on that? I mean, obviously you are interested in it, but like I would love to hear how you think it's gonna go in the future.
It's really hard to know. When I came out with our first pieces of outboard gear, I had several of my distributors. When the brand, okay, so the brand was getting started, I just started getting distributors to believe in the brand and sell the brand. And when they saw that all I wanted to do was release outboard gear, their response was sort of, hey, don't you know the market's not really buying outboard gear anymore? And what we've done over the last, I guess now, so 2011, so we're now 15 years in, is we've proven that's not the case. We've sold just tens and tens of thousands of pieces of outboard gear. I think there's still a discerning ear that appreciates it and likes it and prefers it. And maybe they can't afford to put, you know, a British style microphone preamp on every single channel on their drums, or a Pultec style EQ on every channel. But they still want, you know, I'd like one or two of these in my studio so that I can, you know, hit them regularly. So I guess if you were to say long term, I think there's still a discerning ear that's going to like it. It's like how you're seeing vinyl records come back. Like there's something about analog sound that people can hear.
Is that also, I would figure that's also how the brand name came to be, like because you associate warm, is that?
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
All right. What would you say, what distinguishes the gear you guys make from other, because there are like other manufacturers as well that try to reproduce classic gear, a lot of them. What would you say like distinguishes your brand from other recreations, like cheaper ones, more expensive ones?
That's a really good point. Yeah, there are some extremely inexpensive ones that are saying, hey, we made this, let's say, British style mic pre as cheaply as possible. And that's not what we're looking to do. We're saying we're going to make it as affordable as possible, but with the right components. So if we're talking about British style mic pre's, like we use the Carnhill transformers made in the UK, we use polystyrene and tantalum capacitors, we use the proper output transistor, it's all through hole, hand wired. We really care about hitting the exact quality as the real upper echelon stuff, but charging much less. And I'd say what allows us to do that is quantity of scale. So when we come out with any new product, we're building usually thousands of them. And what that allows us to do is we can go to companies like Carnhill and say, look, we're going to buy thousands of these transformers. A lot of these other companies are buying 50 at a time. What can you do for us? We want the same quality. We're not looking to lower quality, but how can we get the price lower? And so being able to offer the same quality at a lower price because we're throwing out the big orders and believing in what we're doing is a real benefit, I think, to the customer.
Yeah, I noticed that you guys have not yet done any warm audio like USB microphones at all. If correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think
you're right. Yeah.
Is that like a deliberate choice or?
It's a deliberate choice for now. There are some people here that work at the company that think we should offer a USB microphone. I think we're really focused on studio grade quality. And so USB microphones, I think, you know, we could probably build a studio grade quality USB. Yeah. It's just typically when you think of a USB, you think of it's more consumer related. So I guess it would be if we did that, how do we do it so it's special and it's noticeably studio grade?
I mean, that's just, it came to mind because, as you said, it's like a consumer product that a lot of people that maybe, you know, don't even have an interface would be interested in. And I think you guys could pull it off. Basically, to get like a really good, like studio-grade USB microphone, which is something I feel like a lot of people could be interested in.
So question for you, if we were to do that, should it be like a studio, like look like a studio mic and be like, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what people want, you know, when they want to get like a mic. But like I remember when I was like starting out to make my first videos at like 12 years old, I got like a USB mic that looked, you know, a condenser USB, a really cheap one, but it looked like an expensive one. It looked like one you'd see in the studios. So I think that's, if you could make that, but actually have it be a great studio mic, I think that could be a really cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, we make like a U87 style and a 414 style mic, like just making those USB, but still have all the same components inside. It's a great idea. Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah. While we're on the topic of like gear that may or may not come out in the future, are we going to see at some point a Fairchild 660, 670 from you guys maybe?
You know, there are a few companies that are making those already, and so we've kind of held off just because it looks like there are enough available out there. But what's your opinion?
I think you guys are, you kind of have the formula down at this point, I think, of taking one of these classics and like, as you said, making it not cheap, but like as affordable as it needs to be while still being great, basically, which is something that I would much rather invest my money in than in something that's like cheap, but just doesn't hit the right spot it's supposed to. So, I mean, I haven't tried any other recreations of that one yet, but I think if you guys did that and you nailed it like the rest of the outboard gear you did, I think it would be a great idea.
We should, right? Because when we were coming up with the Centavo pedal, a lot of people said, don't make that. A lot of people have already recreated the Klon. And I said, well, if we're going to do it, we're going to make sure it's the best one. So I have a real Klon here up in my office, and listened and tweaked and played with every resistor till it was I mean, watch the YouTube videos. Everybody's like, this is the best one. So maybe we should try that with the Fairchild.
I mean, I guess you can like take that sort of obsession you have about it, and like if you can make it work, then there's so many things that still need a good recreation, because as you said, there are a lot of recreations, but not all of them are good, basically. So also, like I think another thing that could be really cool would be interfaces for you guys, and like especially because you have so much experience when it comes to preamps and stuff. I think, I don't know, is that maybe something you're looking into at some point?
It's something we definitely have talked about, and that's another market where it's like, well, there's lots of interfaces out there, varying quality and feature set, and so we have not seriously developed anything. What would make you interested in a warm audio interface over another brand?
I would think the preamp, you know, to be like, to have something that I guess you could also go kind of like recreation route with that and go like, okay, this preamp does sound kind of like this or that preamp. Like you would have something, just, you know, the thought of having something, having an interface that does give you like a great studio sound you can start with. Maybe not, you know, nothing crazy, but something that like a beginner can pick up and have like a good sounding signal coming in already. And I mean, there's like a plethora of workable interfaces that are really affordable these days, but yeah, I think that sort of studio sound aspect of it, it's still to this day really overlooked, like, because as you said, a lot of people don't get the chance to try out like you know, real outboard gear processing, especially early on in their like careers, and it does make a bigger difference than you'd think in the beginning. So
yeah, and if you buy an interface and it's got mic pre's built in and everything, you kind of think, oh, I have it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's something we've definitely thought about. We now have some engineers that work for us that worked at Apogee Electronics for years developing interfaces, including their chief hardware engineer that was there for 25 years, designed the Duet and the Symphonies and all that. So he obviously has the skill set and would love to do that. So it's on the radar. Another one that we've talked about. We release quite a lot of products every year if you watch our news feed. And it's fascinating how much we still don't have time to get to.
I would figure, you know, that you'd have more ideas than time to actually do them. Well, I also want to get into the guitar world a little bit, and you've done a lot of pedals, you know, which a lot of them I've tried and I've played for years, and I love the way you go about them. But you've so far mainly done like drives, modulation, a compressor. Do you plan on branching out as far as pedals into like, say, reverb, delay, you know, other types of effects like that?
We definitely are looking at some of those. I'd say right now there's none under research and development, but we're looking at those because we keep getting more and more requests. I'd say if I were to ask, you know, 50 guitarists, what should we make next? I'd say half of them say a reverb or delay. So clearly it's something that guitarists are looking for.
Absolutely. I mean, I would think that's like, at least to me, also, again, another, like looking in from like a consumer side, another thing where I could see like we could really use one of your adaptations. Also, what I think would be really, really cool, I mean, that's like, I guess that's a long shot, but like maybe at some point if you guys were like looking into guitar amps, I don't know if you are, but if you were to at some point, I think that could be like a real banger of a product.
Okay. What would be your first guitar amp choice that you'd like? If somebody could build you an incredible guitar amp, more affordable, what is it?
There's too many that come to mind.
Yeah.
I guess you could like maybe do something that takes stuff from different kind of amps, like and use kind of like get a lot of like classic sounds that do actually sound like the classic sounds, and kind of get it into a bundle that like has multiple of them in one, and done well. I think that would like a Swiss Army knife kind of guitar amplifier in a way, but actually doing each one well, because that's also something we're missing on the market. I think there's a lot of amps that do a lot, but they don't do one thing really well.
Well, there's a lot of simulation now.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So there are a lot of pedals and boxes that can do multiple amps, and a lot of people seem to think those are sounding better and better. But I think I feel about those similarly to how I feel about outboard gear and plugins. There's just always a little bit of a difference with analog.
That's true. That's true. Also on the bass side of things, you're planning to do more bass related stuff, like bass pedals, recreations of that?
I would say that's not an active topic usually. But we do get asked a lot for like a tube DI for bass. So that might be something we work on, but nothing on the roadmap just yet.
Also, another pedal I think you guys could make something really cool out of would be the FX25, the envelope filter. I don't know if you're probably familiar with it. That's something, again, I think would be really cool to see. Okay, so you just mentioned there, like I wanted to kind of get into it with this question, modelers and like digital creation of like recreations of all these amps. A lot of guitarists still prefer pedals, myself included, because it's just, you know, as you said, there's just something different about them. But do you think in the guitar sense, as we're getting better and better with all these like profilers, and you know, it's getting harder and harder to distinguish between digital and analog, do you think that's gonna be a problem for the guitar pedal manufacturing side of things in the future, because more and more people are switching over?
It could be. I think also too, a lot of guitarists are playing gigs in bars and live venues that, you know, the difference in quality from analog to digital may not be as noticeable, so they just don't care as much either. But it's funny, I mean, every show I go to, live show, they've got a pedal board. You know, it's very rare that they're like, nope, it's all these effects saved in this box. I hear the difference. You know, so it's hard for me to see it going away completely. It's kind of like, hey, now that AI exists and it can sing your vocals for you, our microphone's never going to exist anymore. It's like, of course, people are still going to keep singing. And I think it is similar to that.
Well, I guess it's also like, as you mentioned, there's a lot of guys that wouldn't even notice the difference. But I've tried going on tour with being only digital, and it just didn't work out for me. And I think it's, if that's the case, I think it's going to be a long time till we have to worry about it. While we're on the topic of pedal boards, you've got some new pedals here. Yeah,
definitely. So these are, this is a white color and then a teal color, but they're the same pedal, and they're called the FLF Drive. And these are overdrive pedals that were actually designed by the YouTube sensation Fluff, or Riffs and Beards. And actually, I mean, look at this. You can't be more of a rock star than this. Look at that. He's got his own image inside the box and everything. But you know, he's constantly reviewing overdrive pedals, distortion pedals, things like that. And he just said, I want to make the perfect pedal. You know, all these pedals that I review, they have a little bit of this that I like or a little bit of that. I want to combine all of those into a single pedal and have my own pedal. And they're also doing a cool golden ticket with these too. So I think with the first, or there's 6 units with a golden ticket inside. You guys seen Willy Wonka? You know? Yeah.
Sure.
And if you get the golden ticket, you get a free ribbon microphone from Warm Audio. And then you also get on a private phone call, Zoom call with Fluff himself to get to know him better and hang out for a little bit. So
well, that's really cool.
Should be a lot of fun, yeah.
How did your relationship with Fluff come about?
It started with him having interest to try out our pedals on his channel. And then he, I believe, approached us and said, hey, I'd love to make a pedal. Could we do this? And We're like, that sounds fun. Sure, why not?
So you also got these new mics out. Maybe you can tell me a little more about them.
Yeah, so these are getting announced at NAMM as well. They're called the Retro 64. We've got it in black and then a chrome there. And we've just been contacted constantly by our customers to make a live mic. And for years and years, we're like, no, we're a studio brand, we're a studio brand. But when your customers love your products, they want you to come out with something that can meet a different demand, then we had to do it. And so these things, they're built like a tank, as you can feel. They're heavy, they're strong, they're out of solid metal. I mean, that is chromed like a rim on a car would be. It's just beautiful. And they sound incredible, work great live, great noise rejection, hypercardioid, all of that.
So if I was a live vocalist and I was looking to get a new mic, or like maybe my first mic or whatever, why would I want to choose this one over, say, an SM58, which has been like the established standard over the last couple of decades?
Well, I'd say the first and most obvious answer to that question is look at it.
I guess that's true.
Do you want to look like you're singing into something that a rock star sings into, or something that like somebody might be singing at a karaoke birthday party, right?
I'll actually be like, I'll be on the lookout for people like that pick this mic up because of that reason, and you'll hopefully see it like with a lot of artists, because I think it is so like it fits into your hand really well, but it just looks amazing. It looks different, that's for sure.
Yeah, it catches the eye for sure.
Yeah.
Now, from a sound perspective, we did test it against a lot of other live dynamic microphones, and to my ears, I can describe it as sounding less phasey and more focused, especially in that low end. It just sounds clearer and punchier to me. But I think what will attract a lot of people to it is the look, and that was the thinking. Is like, okay, hey customers, if you really want us to release a mic, we're going to do it. But we got to make sure it's different. And so the look was the first priority, and then getting something that sounded great, of course, was a part of the equation as well.
Last question while we're on the topic of new stuff. You guys are also entering the distribution world a little more.
We've had a lot of brands come to us and say, hey, we're great at making products, but we're not great at distributing and selling products. Could you help us out with that? Some of the brands are located in foreign countries, so they're not in the United States. They would like their products sold in the US, and they don't have a presence here. So in those cases, we're importing the product as a distributor and then getting it out there. And then there are some that say, hey, we don't even want to manufacture our product. We want you to make it for us, warehouse it, sell it. And we're doing that with a brand named RockNRoller, and the owner is in Houston. And when he first contacted me, I was like, RockNRoller? And I realized I actually had purchased and owned several of these RockNRoller carts in the past. So they're these carts that fold up, and they fit really nicely and small in your car. But then when you need to get out and put all your equipment on them to roll into a gig, they open up and expand pretty big. And that one's been a lot of fun. But the other brands are Tokai guitars, so Japanese guitar company that became really big in the late 70s. I mean, Stevie Ray Vaughan owned one. The guitarist from the Dire Straits, Kirk Hammett of Metallica had one. Really cool brand, and they've sort of lost distribution in the United States over the last couple decades. And we love the guitars. We tested them. We went out to the factory, checked it out. And so that'll be exciting to have those back in the U.S. So we've got RockNRoller, Tokai guitars. There's a few other. Oh, Tegeler.
Oh,
so, you familiar with Tegeler?
yes.
From Germany?
Yeah.
Berlin, right? So great outboard gear. Very boutique, handmade in Berlin. We're bringing that in now. And there's a few other brands we're talking to as well. So Warm Audio is still our baby. Warm Audio is still the big focus. We're developing and releasing products all the time. But these other brands, if we think they have a cool story, we think their products are good, then sure, let's get involved and let's all work together.
Yeah, and I think you guys, you definitely know what you're doing when it comes to that. So best of luck to you on that venture.
Thank you.
And thanks for inviting us. Thanks for letting us into your magnificent studio. And thanks for taking the time to answer all the questions.
Thanks for coming by.
We're actually going to be here at Warm Audio headquarters for the next 2 days, filming a bunch of stuff, a studio tour about like all the studio facilities you see around us. And then there's also going to be a tour of the headquarters and the warehouse, and you can see all the gear. and it is truly amazing, and you don't want to miss that one, definitely. So be on the lookout for the next Warm Audio videos here as well.
Definitely. Thank you for coming out and visiting.
Thank you.